You're watching RTV News with me, Jane Mutoni. The National Electoral Commission has announced that preparations for the election of mediators scheduled this Saturday are complete. The Ministry of Health has announced that come October, children between the ages of 5 and 11 will begin to be vaccinated against COVID-19. On the international scene, over to you.
Britain's Queen Elizabeth died at the age of 96 at her residency in Scotland. She was the fashion and cultural icon whose 70 years in power put her in the center of an evolving world.
A very warm welcome to the news. In details now, the National Electoral Commission has announced that preparations for the election of mediators scheduled this Saturday are complete and have urged all Rwandans of voting age to participate and choose their mediators wisely. Now, the Commission's Executive Secretary Charles Munyaneza explains how and when the elections will be carried out, as well as who qualifies to join the mediation committee at sector and district levels. Take a look.
Iyo tugereranyije n'amatora aheruka y'abunzi yo mu 2015.
In the last elections for mediators in 2015, 5,900,059 voters participated. We now have about 2.3 million first-time voters, most of whom are youth. We have urged them to actively participate in the elections and run for office as well. Judges and prosecutors and others who work in law enforcement and those who have served time in prison for 5 or more years aren't allowed to campaign for a position of mediator. We urge Rwandans to vote wisely and harmoniously and maintain punctuality.
The elections will be carried out at the regular voting centers, and all residents, exclusive of those residing in communities dominated by Seventh-day Adventists, have been urged to participate. Moving on, the Ministry of Health has announced that come October, children between the ages of 5 and 11 will begin to be vaccinated against COVID-19. Now, the news has been welcomed by parents across the country. Betty Mutoni has this report.
On the 3rd October 2022, there will be vaccination activity of children between 5 to 11 years. And the State Minister in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Tarisisi Munga, noted that the vaccines that will be given are all designed for children only.
Vaccinating them is very important because it will protect them from getting serious sick, but also to protect them from the COVID effects. Therefore, kids who are not vaccinated can get serious sick and get effects. And these vaccines are designed for children only, and they are already in the country, well verified by the World Health Organization, as well as Food and Drugs Authority in Rwanda.
Parents say that, according to the way vaccines helped them and the country to fight against COVID-19, this activity of vaccinating kids of 5 to 11 is warmly welcomed. This program is so great and is of great value, which shows how the government is concerned about its citizens. It is so good. I don't see any problem in that. No one should be worried, because even us who are vaccinated, we feel secured. We are not worried because even last time, children of 12 to 16 were vaccinated and they did not get any issue. And I'm sure even the ones of 5 to 11 will not get issues. It is a good activity that gives our children good health. Dr. Tarisisi Munga, the State Minister in the Ministry of Health, encourages all parents to bring their children for vaccination.
We request the parents and inform them that these vaccines are verified and designed for only children. Therefore, as we were together in vaccinating the citizens and children of 12 to 16 years, and all went well, we request you to be part of this so that we boost children's immune, so that our country can be well, and we also fight COVID-19.
Rwanda will be the second African country to vaccinate children aged between 5 and 11 against COVID, after South Africa and the vaccines will be given to the children at school after sensitization efforts by the Ministry of Health among parents and teachers. The COVID-19 vaccination exercise in Rwanda has now covered 99% of all eligible citizens, and more than 70% of population has now received at least one booster jab, while 30% of people above the age of 60 have gotten the second jab shots. And the Ministry of Health is confident that by February next year, the figure will be at 100%. Betty Mutoni, RTV News.
Those in the private sector in the service field are giving hope in terms of continued recovery of the country's economy due to the fact that the COVID-19 died down, hence making the services they provide more efficient as before. Now, the figures of the country's GDP for the second quarter of the year 2022 show that some sectors have increased their production by almost 200%. Take a look. In Kigali, business activities are active compared to when the COVID-19 pandemic had just hit. As the measures were simplified, some activities were reopened and other services were also provided through technology.
It wasn't easy, but we had already adapted to using e-commerce. We were able to sell, but not at a good speed. Wholesaling was hard as well because cargo ships were put on hold. Currently, business is going smoothly, which definitely means that the country's economy is growing as well.
Gross domestic product figures for the second quarter of this year show that commercial output increased by 17%, cargo transportation and transportation of people increased by 27%, while air transport increased by 119%. Hotel and restaurant services increased by 193%. Those that provide services related to these fields say that they are impressed with how various activities have elevated in terms of the output, giving confidence in the continued growth of the economy.
As COVID-19 dies down, everything seems to be going back to normal. Tourists are coming, and transportation companies can receive 30 tourists or more per month. Even now, the bookings that we have are up to December. It's a sign that things are picking up again.
Services, especially those related to tourism, are a major contributor to the country's gross domestic product. More than 80% of the tourists who visit the attractions come from outside the country, and they also often participate in the international conferences that Rwanda hosts. The director of ground handling services at Rwanda, Mushi Ernest, insists that the increase in the number of passengers coming to Rwanda during this period is a sign that things are getting back to normal.
We resumed activities slowly by slowly in accordance with the preventive regulations, and I can say that things are back to normal as it was before COVID, because currently one doesn't require COVID tests when traveling in or out of the country. I take this opportunity to encourage anyone who wants to travel to do so because all is well now.
In the meantime, the Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Dr. Uzienda Gijimana, points out that the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic are still visible, as well as those arising from the war in Ukraine. This may make the rate of economic growth this year equal to that of last year.
There's hope because based on these 2 quarters that have passed, we did achieve so many things while these issues were present. The statistics of our economy in the first quarter, that is from January to March, indicate that we had an increase of 7.9%. In the second quarter, which we are announcing today from April to June, with these issues present, we had an increase of 7.5%. There is hope that we will end this year with a growth rate of 6%, and if things go well, we may even exceed that.
A country's economy is usually divided into 3 sectors: agriculture, industry, and services. In the second quarter this year, overall growth was 7.5% compared to 7.9% growth in the first quarter. Medical experts point out that auto-medication and misuse of drugs may cause adverse effects, including damage of some vital organs and other various complications. Olive Nete has this report.
In some of the pharmacies in Kigali City, Various residents are buying medicines. All of them are carrying medical prescriptions for drugs they want to buy. I think that whenever a person is sick, they should go to the doctor, be examined, and receive the right medication according to the condition they have. Some pharmacists note that they usually meet with cases of people who want to buy medicines without medical prescription. Nizeyimana Jean d'Amour, a pharmacist, continues by explaining the requirements needed for a patient to receive medications.
They came to us and asked for the medicine without prescriptions. Maybe they had others treating themselves with the same medication, or they have used it before, and they want to keep buying that medicine. How it usually goes: in the pharmacy we receive a patient with a medical prescription. It means that they should first consult a doctor, then bring a prescription. Then we rely on what the doctor prescribed to provide them with appropriate medicine.
Dr. Oswald Habyarimana, a specialist in internal medicine, urged people to consult a doctor before buying any medication to avoid further complications that may arise from taking the wrong medication.
For anyone who has any particular issues, like who is sick, want some painkillers, like let's say painkillers, you may buy without necessarily getting a prescription from your treating doctors. It's better to take for a short time, like one day, and then you consult your doctor to avoid unnecessary complication secondary to those medicine, because any drug you take, it has its own side effect. You can't predict who will get these side effects from any painkiller. Let's say paracetamol, ibuprofen, diclofenac, all of them, it has some side effect, adverse effect to anyone, and it is personal dependent. You can't predict which and how and when anyone will get this complication from tablet you are getting from over the counter.
Dr. Oswald also indicates that in some cases it may be necessary to obtain medication without consulting a doctor again. Such exceptions mainly concerns people with chronic illnesses such as diabetes, heart disease, and other various diseases. He also pointed out that automedication and misuse of drugs severely affects the immune system.
Common side effect of, let's say, the commonly over-the-counter medicine we are having, like painkillers, we said, assume you are buying ibuprofen, diclofenac, because you have back pain, or you have headache, you have stomach pain, and you are buying ibuprofen or non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs in general. If you buy such medicine, you may have some kidney problem. You may have like a stomach problem. These problems are, you can't know that you have them, or they may come because you are taking this medicine, or you may have underlying these conditions, and then when you take those over-the-counter painkillers, and then you worsen your condition, you worsen your disease, which were not very severe, and then you are aggravating them.
According to the World Health Organization, misuse of drugs leads to reduction of effectiveness of various medication to cure illness, and this can also lead to severe conditions such as death. Olive Nete, RTV News.
On Friday, CEOs from different corporate companies attending the CEO Forum for Children, which aims to bring together the commitment of making advocacy of children's rights and emphasizing the early children development program. Adam Squizera has this report.
This forum brought together CEOs of different leading corporate companies in Rwanda to discuss the progress of commitments made in the establishment of the CEO Forum for Children to make advocacy, participation, dialogue, and the implementation of child-friendly policies at their respective workplace, while also sharing a common voice for children's rights. UNICEF, as partner in this forum, urged the private sectors to contribute their role in implementation of this program, as explained by the country representative Julian Lindsay.
Our ask to the CEOs of these countries is three things. Most importantly is to make sure that the companies have family-friendly policies for their workplace. We're challenging them to increase their maternity leave to 4 months and increase their paternity leave to at least 2 weeks. And there are a number of companies that have actually stepped up and done just that.
The private sector has taken measures to implement this policy. There have to be good working environment for the employee to run the work smoothly. So as private sector, we have to lead in supporting and implementing this program. We plan to have a breastfeeding room in which we facilitate the mother to feel comfortable with the baby in that place. Nadine Umutoni Gatsinzi, the Director General of National Child Development Agency NCDA, points out the benefits of this program for both child and parents' development, as well as to the company.
Taking care of the children with an emphasis on the first, I would say the first 1,000 days, but also later in the life of a child. And then this forum has been a good platform to hear more on the CEOs, what they are doing on family-friendly policies.
Through National Children Development Agency, NCDA, the government of Rwanda set measures to early child development centers, including that in every workplace should be this center, hence to facilitate the parent to have that relation with the child. Adam Squizera, RwandaTV News.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you have noticed, I have a guest anchor with me. His name is Moses Turahirwa. He is the founder and fashion designer of Motions. He's a well-known designer. I hope all of you have met him. Please, you can introduce yourself if you... Is there any more to add on?
I think you've said it all, but thank you so much for having me.
I was making a joke. I was making a joke earlier that he has traveled and, you know, he's went to Paris, you know, and made strides. And so what best defines your artistic journey from your modeling days to being a creative designer at this current, you know, day?
That's like a lot. But then also it's really been an amazing experience, I think, to speaking from an art perspective view, and my self-enthusiasm on starting or embarking on a journey that probably seemed like, you know, not the usual, but it has been ups and downs. But above all, we're grateful, we like the move, we like where we're going, so clearly we can now see the vision. It's much brighter.
So take me through the journey. When did you discover, when did you realize I can actually be a designer, or designing is your passion?
I got to realize, I would say maybe professionally, like in 2015, but that's when you kind of tackle into something that's been, you know, tickling you until you be like, you know what, actually I have to do this. I feel motivated, I feel super devoted to do something. So in 2015, that's when I officially took a decision to embark on this journey. But I would say back in my background, how I grew up, where I was raised, I was always surrounded by that beauty, so I was not looking so far away from the beauty that was in my surroundings to take that decision.
You mean in the modeling industry? In
both modeling industry and fashion design and the art discovery itself. Because I would say I'm more of an artist
yeah.
Than a fashion designer or a model. So it was whole in the art, but also really covered by the beauty. So the trigger of discovering beauty and find the channel to use it to express it in fashion.
So what can you say are the key factors that have contributed to your brand internationally or even nationally?
The key factors is the love.
Wow. Simple.
Yeah.
The love.
I feel like we've been, I've been spreading love. I've been doing everything from the core of my heart. And then I think when you do everything with the core, from the core of your heart, with the love, with less expectations, it gets sometimes to be rewarding in that way.
So as Motions, what's your social corporate responsibility?
We have different CSR. We really, we give so much attention to the community. I think everything that we are doing was also birthed through the community of Rwanda. So we give so much value and respect to that. And then we respect each other. we respect every client who come to us, everyone who coming looking for love that I mentioned.
Okay.
So we reciprocate the love through what we are doing with
Nice.
so much respect, without any kind of boundaries, without laboring, without boxing, with just pure love.
I mean, there's some designers out there who box, huh?
I didn't mean that, but...
Okay, yeah, that was a joke. So basic on the challenges as Motions you have faced and also overcome in the past, what would you say you would like to see in the business field in Rwanda? What do you look forward to see, or what would you say should be changed in terms of business, as someone who has been in the business industry for quite a while?
Yeah, I think in the side of business, I would say there is some things to change, either coming from a perspective of an artist. What needs to change, I probably give into perspective from an art view, but also from a policy-making view. So from an art view, I think like more artists needs to really invest in themselves in finding what is it that we really want to turn into business, from like a core of their practices, their experiences, what brings that to decide on actually making a business, because sometimes you see that there is, sometimes confusion, so it can confuse either the policymakers or the artists, appreciators, the people who are looking for like a reveal in the way of art form. Then on the policymakers, I would say also what needs to change is really to give an ear, to listen a lot to what creatives are up to, what have they made decisions on creating, so that the policies either in the government or different institutions can be more facilitating on the making or on the implementing such kind of activities, because most of the time they look unfamiliar.
Wow. I hope the policymakers are hearing this. Ladies and gentlemen, this was Moses Turahirwa. He is the founder and fashion designer of your brand?
Motions.
Motions. Thank you very much. Good night. That's all we had for you for today. Well, that's all for tonight. On behalf of the news production team, thank you so much for your company. I'm Jane Mutoni.
Bye-bye now. And this is Moses Turahirwa. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Ciao.